Do you know that the Anunnaki, the gods that created us, are the same gods in Greek and Norse and Roman gods? And Hera was actually Enlil's wife, called Ninlil, and her description as Hera was that her skin was like ivory. Hang on, and Poseidon, which we know was Enki, his description as Poseidon was his skin was darkened by the sun. And that all leads on to this amazing documentary that's just been finished called Anunnaki What Skin Colour. You can probably guess already, but visit my website to find the 30-minute long documentary, edited documentary, going through every single colour of skin that any god was mentioned in ancient times, whether it was Indian, Greek, Roman, you name it, Norse, and I look at everything, including obviously the Anunnaki skin.
Quetzalcoatl is a fascinating figure from Mesoamerican mythology. Often depicted as a feathered serpent, he's associated with wind, air, and learning. Was also known as a creator god and is linked to the planet Venus.
When you say Quetzalcoatl was represented by Venus, what gives that? Who says that? Who actually says this is the planet Venus and therefore it belongs to Quetzalcoatl?
The association of Quetzalcoatl with Venus comes from various Mesoamerican cultures, particularly the Aztecs and the Maya. These cultures closely observed the movements of celestial bodies and integrated these observations into their mythology and religious beliefs.
But right, we don't have Mayan civilization anymore. So where do we get the Quetzalcoatl and Venus attachment? Where do we see that?
We understand the connection between Quetzalcoatl and Venus through a combination of archaeological findings, codices, and historical records from the time of the Spanish conquest. 1. Codices. Mesoamerican cultures such as the Aztecs and the Maya created detailed codices, books made of materials like bark paper or animal skins that recorded their religious beliefs, astronomical observations, and myths. Some of these codices explicitly depict Quetzalcoatl in connection with the planet Venus.
How?
2. Archaeological evidence.
How?
Archaeological sites.
How does it do that?
Actually, some of the codices and historical records from Mesoamerican cultures have survived. These include codices like the Codex Borbonicus, the Codex Borgia.
Right, you said they're connected. Explain to me how people have come to the conclusion that Venus and Quetzalcoatl are connected. In the codices. In the codices,
Quetzalcoatl is often depicted alongside symbols and imagery representing the planet Venus.
How do you know? Right, hang on. How do you know it's representing Venus? Is it just a circle?
In the codices, Quetzalcoatl is often depicted alongside symbols and imagery representing the planet Venus. These codices include detailed astronomical observations and were recognized by Mesoamerican cultures.
Hang on, I want to dig deep on this. How do you know it's Venus?
The identification of Venus in Mesoamerican codices is based on a few key elements. 1. Glyphs and symbols. The codices use specific glyphs to represent celestial bodies. The glyph for Venus often includes a star-like symbol or a representation of the morning and evening star, which was understood to be Venus. 2. Astronomical records. The codices contain detailed records of astronomical events, including the cycles of Venus. These records show the position of Venus in the sky and its cycles, which align with the planet's known behavior. 3. Historical accounts.
Hang on, let's go back to that second one. So in the codices, they're talking about Venus as the movements, as you just said, celestial movements.
Yes, the codices document the movements of Venus,
right,
showing its position in the...
So are we assuming that it is Venus?
We're not just assuming. The identification of Venus in the codices is based on careful study of the symbols, the astronomical records, and the historical context.
Right, in that celestial movement section that you was just saying, Is Quetzalcoatl
Yes,
mentioned in that section, or is that just a different, totally different section where they're referring to Venus in the celestial movements?
in the codices, the movements of Venus are often recorded in sections dedicated to celestial events. These sections may include references to Quetzalcoatl as he is associated with Venus.
But
However,
hang
Quetzalcoatl's
on.
connection to
Is Quetzalcoatl
Sure, take your
mentioned?
time.
Is Quetzalcoatl mentioned in any other celestial movements? For example, Mars, the Sun. Is his name mentioned in any of those sections as well?
Yes, Quetzalcoatl is mentioned in connection with other celestial bodies and
So,
events in some
so
codices.
I'm right that it's a guess because you can't say, oh well, he's connected because they talked about him when they're also talking about him with other celestial bodies.
I understand your point. The connection between Quetzalcoatl and Venus is not based on a single piece of evidence.
No, but
on a
that's not evidence
combination
at all. We can rule that one out because if it's like you saying to me, oh, you've been to England, you've been to America, you've been to Scotland, you've been to Ireland, you've been to Australia, therefore you're Australian. No, it doesn't quite work like that.
Like, you're right. A single association isn't enough on its own.
Give me
The
the very,
identification-
very best evidence that the star symbol that you said that sometimes is a star. It's funny how sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't. It does sound like the researchers or the archaeologists are clutching at straws, because they kind of assumed it's something. I don't get that. So give me the best evidence that star symbol is Venus.
The best evidence for the star symbol representing Venus in Mesoamerican codices comes from several key points. 1. Astronomical cycles. The codices contain detailed records of the cycles of Venus, including its appearance as the morning
How do you know
and
it's
evening star.
Venus?
The identification of Venus in Mesoamerican codices is based on the detailed records of its cycles.
Yeah, you say of its cycles. How do you
Yes,
know its cycles match that? What did they? Explain to me how they had the cycles, so that we can say it was Venus.
The cycles of Venus were recorded in the codices by tracking its appearance in the sky. Venus has a well-known cycle where it appears as the morning star, then disappears for about 50 days, reappears as the evening star, and then disappears again. This cycle is about 584 days long.
So, what does that look like in the codices? Is it handwritten? Is it a diagram? Is it a graph? What is it?
In the codices, the cycles of Venus are often represented through glyphs and symbols, sometimes accompanied by numerical notations that mark the days of its cycle.
So, how do we get that star connected with Quetzalcoatl?
The connection between the star symbol representing Venus and Quetzalcoatl comes from the broader cultural and mythological context. Quetzalcoatl was associated with knowledge, wind, and
So
the
it's a
sky.
guess. Let's be honest, it's a guess. We've already got other celestial objects that's connected with, because you said in the codices that they also mentioned Quetzalcoatl in other celestial objects. So it's a guess.
It's a well-supported interpretation based on multiple pieces of
So there's
evidence.
no evidence, like I asked at the beginning. It's just lots of things that they've attributed, even though they don't really actually match properly.
I understand your skepticism. The connection between Quetzalcoatl and Venus is supported by a combination of historical, archaeological, and
You say that, I've
astronomical
asked for the
evidence.
best evidence and you've given me literally nothing.
I apologize if I haven't conveyed the evidence clearly. Let me summarize the key points. The codices contain detailed records of the cycles of Venus, which match the planet's known behavior. Quetzalcoatl's association with Venus is supported by these records and by the symbolism used in the codices. Additionally, historical accounts from the time of the Spanish
Okay, so
conquest.
Quetzalcoatl, how do you know that, because you just said it was to do with the symbol, how do you know, is there any images of Quetzalcoatl with any other celestial or other symbols or images?
Yes, there are several depictions of Quetzalcoatl in Mesoamerican art. These depictions often show him with various symbols that represent his attributes. For example, he is sometimes depicted with a feathered serpent, which is his primary symbol. Other times, he is shown with symbols representing wind, which is another of his attributes. In some depictions, he is shown with celestial symbols, including stars, which have been interpreted as representing Venus.
So I think we can rule out Venus as being belonging to Quetzalcoatl.
It's true that Quetzalcoatl is associated with multiple.
Wishing you well across the galaxy. I wish you find your star now and forever. You will be here with me.
Please show me the evidence that the war was between different alien races back in ancient times. Please, don't change the subject, don't run away, don't be rude, just reply here with the evidence. Numpty alert, and I say numpty alert because this is a person that must have got blocked for being rude, then created a new account and then was rude again and wondered why they got blocked the first time, and is basically saying that pseudoscience or pseudo-archaeology is what I'm doing. So I said, you do realise that pseudo-archaeology, over the years, many things have now become mainstream from pseudo-archaeology. And then he came back with some more grief, and then I said, why don't you actually just go watch one of my documentaries? And then this is what they wrote. I don't think you know what proper evidence is or proof. You haven't even looked at my video. I said to you, go look at it, and all you've done is that, which clearly shows you have an intent, no matter what, to make sure that I'm wrong, even though I'm obviously right. You won't even watch it. You've backed out of it. You've been rude. You wonder why you got blocked the first time. Enough. Okay, just enough. Grow up, please. So this person says I block people. I don't actually. If you go back and look at any of the videos that I do, look at the posts, and you'll see me discussing with people that disagree with me over and over and over. I mean, so much so that it's ridiculous. I waste so much time debating people. And on the lives, I only ever block someone. For example, yesterday I blocked someone because they called me a liar. And my moderators block people if people say that I copy Billy Carson, because that's a criminal offence saying that I copy Billy Carson. And my moderators block people if they're racist, etc., which people do. Now, yesterday I was doing a 5.5 hour live, and I said to people, debate me. And there was one person said about flat Earth, and I said, cool, come on, tell me you're still here. And apparently, according to the moderators, they were still in the chat, but they didn't say yes. So I'm not afraid to debate anyone.
Willing to debate any of the top proponents of atheistic.
I'm here to debate you, except for the Sunday, because obviously Enki said let Sunday be a day of rest. Other than that, I'm happy to debate you on any other day. This person has put, there is an almighty creator. Enlil and Enki spoke about it many times. 4 or 5 isn't many. Now, if you asked any religious person right now on this planet, regardless of what religion, if they believe there is their God, they will say yes. So in other words, just because the Anunnaki, and they did actually say unseen creator of everything, so you have to remember they've not even seen it. So just because they said it, now it's totally possible that they may have one day looked up into the universe and thought, how the hell did this place get created? Must be an almighty being. And that's it. They may have just done as simple as that. Because if you asked any religious person, there's 4,000 religions right now, each one of them will tell you that they're 100% correct without even seeing an almighty being. So you cannot say just because they've said it, and they even admit that it's unseen, so we can't say there is a God based off of that, sorry.
Any curvature while we were up there?
Curvature? No.
No, there's no curvature?
It's
Very clever attempt at trying to make us think that it's a flat earth. They actually asked him, if you watch the full video, they actually asked him while we was flying. Now, bearing in mind, he's just a commercial jet. He wasn't a Concorde, so he would have been flying at around 35,000 feet, which wouldn't have seen a curvature. Whereas, if he was at 70,000 feet, for example, Concorde, you would have. So when they actually asked him, did you see a curvature on our journey? He said no correctly. doesn't mean it's flat. Nice try, flat earthers. Here's a question from an amazing book to do with flat earth. Question 1. How could Enoch see the dome? The oldest record of the firmament was done by Enoch in the book of Enoch. I saw at the end of earth the firmament of heavens above. Problem is, taking into account that Enoch lived in the Middle East, didn't have an aeroplane, and none of us 8 billion can see the dome now. How did Enoch see the dome?
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3.
How many miles in diameter is the flat earth? And if you have that figure, where did you get that figure from? And if you don't have that figure, how do you know it's flat? In other words, you need to know where the edges are to be able to say it's flat. Otherwise, we could be on a massive ball, massive ball, bigger than what we think, and therefore it's not actually flat, it's round but bigger, and therefore any measurements you do, you're taking into account that you think it's smaller, therefore, so you need to know the diameter. And of course, flat earthers have zero evidence of a diameter of the earth. It's numpty time again, and this is the person that said that Zecharia Sitchin was debunked because he translated the tablets, and I actually said no, he didn't translate the tablets, they were done before he was born, and I can show evidence. And I asked for your evidence, which you failed to do because all you've done is wrote this. So I did say I'd show you my evidence, but I mean, all you have to do is just type in Sumerian translations, and you'll see it wasn't Zecharia Sitchin that did it. Some of them were done in 1912. So unfortunately, once again, I win. I always win because I don't ask for evidence if I don't already know the answer. You failed. Speaking of quantum mechanics, go watch my video on Tesla where I actually show, Stephen Hawking, where I actually show about quantum particles, where I clearly know what I'm talking about. So either way, I win. The video with the best evidence on why we have Rh negative blood is now released. It's already got great reviews. It came out yesterday, in fact, and you can get to it from my website, ourtruehistory.co.uk. Finally, someone's doing a video on the Anunnaki skin colour, and it is the person that you can trust as a researcher, probably the best researcher in the world, solved many things already. So this video is coming very, very soon. I'll let everyone know. Do you know, I still get it to this day. So people say a load of rubbish about the Anunnaki. I say, would you like to see the evidence? Some of them say yes, such as this particular non-sharpest tool in the shed. So I said, here's the link. I knew they never watch them. You know they never watch them. Anyway, guess what? This guy never watched it. He just replied with what you can read in the background. I believe in aliens, etc. I don't believe in fake gods. Well, the problem was the Anunnaki weren't fake gods. That's their race name. If you watched the video, you would have seen that. They're the gods in the Bible with all the evidence in that video, but you didn't see it. Or church cult who fed us lies for centuries. Yes, I do agree church cults are fake, but the Anunnaki were gods. But we don't have official proof. We do actually, but you failed to watch that. So you're not the sharpest, are you? Anyway, there you go. So once again, another one that never watched it.